We failed you, we all failed you. The words of Hersh Goldberg-Polin's father at his 23-year-old son's funeral. Thousands, including Israel's president, attending the service in Jerusalem. The Israeli-American, one of 6 hostages found Sunday in an underground tunnel in the Gaza Strip. They're killing at close range, sparking outrage and anger at Israel's government over the deliberate pace of ceasefire negotiations. For more, let's cross now to correspondent Irris Makler. Irris, Hersh Goldberg-Polin's parents, they'd become, you could say, the face of the hostage family's ordeal.
They certainly did. You know, I think it's fair to say that despite the number of hostages who've been brought back to Israel to be buried, very few, if any, have had the president of the state of Israel attending. President Herzog made a speech apologizing to Hersh and to the other hostages for having failed to protect them and then having failed to rescue them. That's an apology that they haven't had from Israel's prime minister, not in public and not like that. It's an acknowledgement of responsibility from the first citizen of the state to this particular 23-year-old man wounded on October the 7th, his best friend dying beside him, his hand blown off, surviving until April when he made a hostage video, and then surviving 5 months after that, 6 months after that, actually, until he was basically shot at close range by the militants who were holding him in a tunnel beneath Rafah. And I think in many ways, his mother, with her extraordinary campaign, has become the face, certainly internationally, because she's American, because her son was a dual citizen, but also, you know, she's one of those ordinary women who are catapulted into the public consciousness by some crisis, and then you realize they're not ordinary at all. She's gracious, she's eloquent, she's full of light and love, and maybe we should hear what the words that she had to say at her son's funeral.
Okay, sweet boy, go now on your journey. I hope it's as good as the trips you dreamed about, because finally, my sweet boy, finally you're free. I will love you and I will miss you every single day for the rest of my life. But you're right here. I know you're right here. I just have to teach myself how to feel you in a different way. And Hersh, there's one last thing I need you to do for us. Now I need you to help us stay strong. And I need you to help us survive.
So you can see her eloquence and her pain. And her husband said that he hoped that this death, the death of Hersh and the other 5 hostages who were killed together, would be the stone that would unblock the hostage negotiations. And I think that's a feeling that reflects what the Israeli public also is praying for at this moment.
The Israeli public, which has been expressing its outrage. We even had a general strike this Monday.
Yes, we had a curtailed general strike. The court said it was illegal after a certain point in the day. But I think it's the hundreds of thousands of Israelis who came out on the streets last night. And, you know, it wasn't particularly organised. It was a spontaneous expression, a response to the fact that these 6 had been returned dead, following 6 others who had been returned dead within the past 2 weeks. 13 people had been rescued, but only one of them was alive. The other 12 returned in body bags. And I think that number and that reality is very depressing for Israelis. They use the word abandonment a lot. The government has abandoned the hostages, or that's what they say they feel. And on that basis, I think you're seeing a turning point. I don't know yet for the politicians, but certainly in the public. You know, the strike and the protests are an expression of a grassroots feeling asking the government to prioritise the hostage return. There are 2 goals to this war, the destruction of Hamas and the return of the hostages. And I guess the public is now saying to its government, the return of the hostages alive has to take priority.
And you mentioned Hersh Goldberg-Polin's dual nationality. Earlier, we heard from U.S. President Joe Biden.
Are you planning to present a final hostage deal to the both sides this week?
We're very close to that.
Mr. President, do you think it's time for Prime Minister Netanyahu to do more on this issue? Do you think he's doing enough?
No.
The second half of that answer, Irris Makler, predictable. When he says we're close to a comprehensive deal, what does he mean?
No one knows. You know, I heard one Israeli analyst who said that everybody's lying to the Israeli public because really these talks are going full speed ahead in neutral, you know, getting nothing done and damaging the engine. So I don't know what he's referring to. I think the fact that he said quite strongly that Benjamin Netanyahu is not doing enough does resonate here, because I think that's the question that Israel is asking itself now too. You know, there's no guarantee that if Israel had done 110% effort, there would be a hostage deal. But the question Israelis are asking is, has there been 110% effort from this government? And many are questioning that. You know, President Joe Biden also said that it was Hamas who was to blame for killing these hostages. There's no doubt about that. You know, it was Hamas who shot them. But is the government here, or can it persuade the people of Israel that it's doing everything it can to organise a deal? Because if they had been rescued a month ago, if they had been come out in some kind of prisoner swap that was part of the ceasefire deal as we know it, if that had happened a month ago, they would be alive. It didn't happen, and 3 days ago they were killed. So I think that's what resonates here, and that is the danger for Benjamin Netanyahu, who, by the way, is speaking tonight as a response to the protests and a response to Joe Biden.
And we'll be hearing what Benjamin Netanyahu has to say in a couple of hours' time. Many thanks for that. Irris Makler reporting live from Jerusalem.